Audio Jungle.
Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Shahzoor, and I'm a student of International Journalism with Digital Media at University of Salford. Today, we are here to discuss about a very important and hot topic: the chaos, conflicts, and violence within the Middle East. How these conflicts actually emerged? What are the root causes of these conflicts? Are there any possible solution? If yes, is there any one, or there would be multiple solutions? We will also discuss, are world powers playing important and responsible role within the Middle East, or they are just protecting their interest? We will also discuss how the peace within the Middle East is so important for the peace of the world, as this world is our only home in this vast universe, and we need to protect it. And we can only protect our home if we can resolve these conflicts. And we can resolve the conflicts if we know the causes and the solutions of these problems and conflicts. Today, to discuss this broad topic and a very complex topic, we have a special player, Mr. Laurence Murphy is with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Laurence Murphy, for your precious time. He's a senior journalist and a senior lecturer at University of Salford, and he's keeping a close eye on the conflicts of Middle East. Mr. Murphy, my first question to you is, what is the historical and geopolitical importance of Middle East? Why it's so important for the rest of the world? And kindly also tell, do you think these conflicts within the Middle East are going towards the solution, or you are witnessing more conflicts are emerging on the scene?
Question, because when President Trump actually made the declaration that Jerusalem would be is to be regarded as the capital of Israel, completely ignoring the fact that there are serious implications to that kind of question, because over history, over time, different religions, different empires have had control of that area of the Middle East, and it's because it's a nexus of trade routes, people. It's a strategic
Faith,
point.
ideologies.
Yeah. So Egypt, in the Pharaoh times, they wanted to control that area. Then when the rise of Christianity, you get the Templar castles, and you get the Crusades, where they wanted to take control of that area. It's a bit simplistic to say it was just a religious crusade, because there was also strategic power and influence in that area, and money as well. The religion drove it, and that's one of the things that repeatedly drives these.
And also, do you
things.
think the strategic importance of the Middle East, because it actually connects the three continents of the world together?
Yeah. Well, the strategic importance, that's the historic strategic importance.
Yeah.
As soon as the oil was discovered, the Middle East took on a whole new different importance for the whole world, because it became the oil-producing oil barrel of the world's economy, and that's when all the different religions, the different ideologies, the different nationalistic influences become enmeshed in this economic reasoning why the Middle East becomes so important, why the Straits of Hormuz is one of the most hotly guarded waterways in the world, because it's the lifeline to get to where the oil fields are, and the world would basically stop working if the Straits of Hormuz stopped working. If the Suez Canal stopped working. Again.
And we have seen such conflicts in the past.
Oh yeah. I mean, when the Suez crisis happened in the 50s, that was a significant threat to the world's economy. So that's why Britain got involved in it, because Nasser was rising to power. He was seen as not sympathetic to the Western oil producing companies. So he was seen, it was better to destabilise his rise,
Yep.
and put somebody who was more sympathetic. And that kind of manipulation has gone on for centuries in the Middle East.
Very well explained, Mr. Murphy. But as you mentioned, the recent crisis, the Jerusalem crisis, after Mr. Trump announced Jerusalem as a capital of Israel, can you explain, with the historical perspective, which territory belongs to which country and why those particular parts, especially the Gaza Strip and the Jerusalem, is important?
It's a strategic part for the Israelis because it's the backbone of where the controlled territory that is Israel.
Yep.
Syria sees it as the hot point of their territory. Yeah, the Palestinians see it as Palestinian homeland. Yeah, a potential Palestinian homeland, and so that's the kind of anachronism you get in the Middle East, and it doesn't matter which country you look at. Look at the Lebanon.
Yeah.
Loads of people in the West don't understand that the Lebanon is not just Muslim.
Yeah.
There are
certain part of
there are Christian
Christians
Christian
and
sects like the Maronites
yeah.
that go all the way back to Saint Maroon, who was involved with the Crusades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got those embedded historical links and backgrounds that do influence modern day. Yeah. As much as modern day politics and modern day politicians are dealing with the new things that are happening, they're also dealing with what they have to be seen to be dealing with when it comes to historical context as well.
All right. If we see, conflict after conflict, we have seen the first Gulf War as well, and the Iraq War into that. And we have seen the emergence of ISIS as well, and the new crisis in the Middle East. So I want to ask, if the Middle East is burning right now, Iran versus Saudi Arabia, Arabs versus Israel, and Israel versus Iran. So it's kind of triangle, right? So in these circumstances, if the United States president announced Jerusalem as a capital, so it's adding more fuel into the fire.
It adds fuel to the fire because it shows off a fundamentally simplistic and idiotic point of view, because about 80% of Americans don't understand that there are two distinct sects within Islam that have quite different viewpoints about historical references to Allah and the Quran, and they're fundamentally opposed to each other. That's where you get the Iran-Iraq war. Yeah, that was the two sides of Islam driven by two very powerful countries.
So do you think the Iran-Iraq war was the war of two sects of Islam, there was something else behind it?
It was definitely a driver. It didn't help that both... It's that thing. It's very... this annoys me when people say this, that religion causes wars. No, religion doesn't cause wars. Religion is used as the excuse for wars. It's nationalism, territory, oil, money. Yeah, they are and then religion becomes a convenient badge to say.
You are absolutely right, because if the religion was the main problem, then we can see some of the examples, like the organizations. Hezbollah is one of the example where we can see they are Shias, Sunnis, and Christians, and some Jews, and they are the part of the organization, and they're working together.
They have a very specific political agenda. Yeah, it's not as radical as ISIS. But they have a very specific political agenda.
And I have seen the Christian, they were supporting Hezbollah as well.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's that thing. They trod a very interesting. They're an interesting group to look at because they.
So it's
use
more
politics.
like politic, yeah.
Yeah, they use politics as well as social support as well. So they would. Rather than groups relying on grain from aid from the United States, they would actually source it from the Arab countries, which was quite an interesting twist. But their political arm then was supporting the missiles that were then being thrown over the border and then aggravating the Israelis, and the Israelis then started throwing stuff back at them. And once you start getting that tit for tat kind of, it's similar to what happened in Northern Ireland. You get this tit for tat violence escalation, and sometimes it's very difficult to calm it down, to actually bring it back down. Yeah.
I completely understand that. Mr. Murphy, at the end, I would like to ask, what are the possible solutions do we have? One solution can work, or there would be multiple solutions. And kindly shed some light on the role of international powers as well.
President of the United States, every time they start their term, what's the solution to the Middle East? There isn't one solution to the Middle East. The Middle East is going to be a sequence of agreements. If you get people, I mean, it was a shame because I was working at the time when the Egyptian and Israeli peace accord happened, and then both of them got assassinated. Yeah, but what they did was they actually showed that peace could actually happen even between two sides who were vehemently opposed to each other. Yes.
Laurence, do you agree with that statement? The people in the Middle East, they say the world power want to see us as liberal and enjoying freedom, but at the same time they are imposing their proxies on us, and they are putting us into such kind of circumstances where we don't have liberty and freedom.
Well, I mean, what's a really good point is to look at the freedom of the press. Yeah? I mean, what people see out in the larger world, from like when the Intifada happened in Palestine, I had graduates of mine who were working as uplink engineers in the Intifada, and only a percentage of what was happening was actually being shown worldwide on the news agencies, because it was seen as too volatile to actually show it to the wider audience. Yeah? And in a way, that sort of controlling of that regional media was one of the drivers behind the move towards the Middle Eastern Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, then it's gone out of my head.
The Al Jazeera as well.
Thank you. Because it was seen as giving a voice to people who, depending on at what point they were within a conflict with either the Israelis or any others, they were having their television stations turned off.
Yeah.
They were having reporters arrested.
So information is not going to the public, basically.
Exactly. Information was not filtering out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a dangerous thing. When that happens, what can happen then is you can get cyclical information, and people become when you control information like that, it's a breeding point for radicalisation. That is, and then as soon as you add the internet into the mix, all of a sudden you get very radicalised opinion almost showing the way. Yeah, and that is incredibly dangerous, and that is what we're seeing, what we saw with ISIS. I mean, that was, they weren't just, what was really annoying people from Syria was most of the ones that were fighting for ISIS weren't from Syria.
Yeah.
They weren't Syrians who'd radicalized themselves. They were actually Chechens. They were from Pakistan. They were some of them from India. Yeah, and it was Western Europe, Africa, America, even. Yeah, and England. So they were like a sort of a weird, radical foreign legion, if you like, that suddenly decided to create the caliphate and bring. What really did annoy me as well is how they twist history to their own making. Yeah, because they use very, very old teachings and very old script to actually reinforce what they're doing. Yeah, even to the point where they were quoting Al-Haridin, yeah, who fought the Crusaders. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but putting it on purpose, putting it out of context so that it reinforced what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're not the only, religions have a habit of doing that. The European religions that have a habit of doing that as well.
All right. I just want to clarify one thing.
Yeah.
The Western powers
Yeah.
and the Western leaders, when they want to support a leader
Yeah.
in the Middle East,
Yeah.
they do it. And when they don't like him,
Yeah.
they kill him.
Yeah.
We have seen the Saddam Hussein's example.
They
They took the pull the support.
Means they're
Or they launch, another venture against that. So, what do you think that is it the hypocrisy, or is it strengthening their interest or supporting their own interest?
It's a bit of both. It's balancing their agenda, balancing their control in that area. How much they affect that sphere of influence. Yeah. But if they were less monetaristically motivated, if you took the money out of it, you took the oil, say the oil stopped tomorrow,
Yeah.
the Middle East would be a very, very different problem. It would be a hugely different problem because you'd take away the main political and economic motivator that makes the West directly influence the Middle East as much as they do, regardless of religion, regardless of who they want to support. Yeah, if you take away the oil, yeah, that's a huge motivator.
So, within the next 20 or 30 years, do you think that the conflicts in the Middle East we're going to be calm, or there will be a peace, or like you are saying, according to your analysis and your knowledge, that there will be more conflicts, or there will be more
I think there's hope. There's always hope. There's always the idea that eventually the Palestinians will get the homeland back. Yeah, because it's not creating a homeland. It really annoys me when reporters say creating a homeland. The Palestinians were there first, and they were evicted. Yeah, so it's them regaining their homeland, but a homeland at the same time recognising Israel and recognising that they've got a neighbour that they can do business
two
with.
state.
Yeah, but to not Jerusalem is always going to be the issue that is going to scupper any peace accord, any peace negotiations. So why not make it a separate state? Why not create a United Nations state of Israel, of Jerusalem? Sorry.
Jerusalem, where all the three religions would be allowed
three
to.
religions. In a way, what happened 400, 500 years ago.
Yes, absolutely right. 400 years ago, the same model which we have used, and it worked as well for 8 or 9 centuries, and it brought peace and stability to the region as well. Why not utilize the same model right now? I completely agree with you. Instead of doing new experiments and bringing innovation where some people criticize that it won't work and some people say it might work. So this is a really good suggestion, and the similar suggestion was presented by United Nations in 1950s and 60s as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Murphy, for your precious time. It was a really nice conversation, quite informative and fruitful as well. And I'm hoping that my viewers would have liked it. Thank you very much, viewers, as well, for your precious time. That's all from my side for today. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.